The message came at midnight, as bad news always did. Ambassador sat alone in her office, watching the holographic display flicker with words that spelled the death of her world. The Empire had spoken. Surrender in 7 days or face complete destruction. No negotiation, no mercy, no hope. She read the message 3 times, hoping the words would change. They did not. They were the most feared species in the known galaxy. Their warriors stood 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor that could stop plasma fire. Their ships numbered in the thousands. They had conquered 17 star systems, and not once had they shown kindness to the defeated. The skulls of kings decorated their throne room. The screams of the conquered echoed in their victory songs. And now they wanted. Pressed her small hands against her face. They were not fighters, they never had been. Her people were traders, scholars, diplomats. They solved problems with words, not weapons. Their bodies were delicate, their bones hollow like birds. A single soldier could kill 100 without effort. She had already sent requests to every major power in the Galactic Unity Council. The responses came quickly, and they all said the same thing. We are sorry. We cannot help. They are too strong. We wish you peace in your final days. Cowards, all of them. Stood and walked to her window. Outside, the twin moons hung in the purple sky. Children played in the gardens below. Merchants closed their shops for the night. None of them knew yet. None of them understood that in 7 days, everything they loved would burn. She could not let that happen. There was one option left, one species she had not yet contacted, a young civilization that had only recently joined the galactic community. Most considered them primitive, backward, barely worth noticing. Their planet was small, wet, and covered in strange green plants. Their technology was laughable compared to the elder races. But had read the reports, all of them, and what she read made her curious. Humans. They were an odd species. Soft bodies with no natural armor. No claws, no fangs, no venom. They could not see in the dark or hear distant sounds. By every measure, they should have been prey, not predators. And yet somehow, impossibly, they had risen to dominate their world. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed lesser species. More interesting were the stories that had started to spread across the galaxy. Whispers of human protectors who guarded diplomats in dangerous territory. Tales of single humans who had faced impossible odds and somehow survived. Reports that made no sense unless you believed that humans were something more than they appeared. Did not know if she believed, but she had no other choice. She composed her request carefully. She explained the situation. She asked for one thing only, a human protector to accompany her to Prime, someone to stand beside her when she faced the Emperor. The response came in less than 1 hour. Request accepted. Protector will arrive tomorrow. His name is Park. That was all. No demands for payment. No questions about the danger. No warnings about just simple acceptance. Did not know what to feel. The next morning, she waited at the landing platform as a small Earth vessel descended through the clouds. It was an ugly ship, boxy and practical, without the elegant curves of design. It landed with a heavy thunk that shook the platform. The door opened, and a human walked out. He was smaller than she expected, not much taller than herself, though wider in the shoulders. His skin was a warm brown color, and his black hair was cut very short. He wore simple dark clothing with no decorations, no symbols, no armor. In his hand he carried a single bag. He stopped in front of her and bowed slightly. "Ambassador," he said, his voice was calm and quiet. "I am Park, I will be your protector." Studied him. His face showed no fear, no excitement, no worry. His eyes were dark and steady, and they seemed to notice everything around him without obviously looking. "Do you understand what you're walking into?" she asked. "The Empire said, they want your world. You want to negotiate. I am here to make sure you survive the negotiation." They have never been defeated. Their warriors are the strongest in the galaxy. Their emperor has killed hundreds of champions with his own hands. Nodded, I have read the reports. Felt frustration rise in her chest. And that does not concern you. The human looked at her for a long moment. Something moved behind his eyes, something old and patient and completely unreadable. Ambassador, he said softly, I have been protecting people since I was 19 years old. I have stood beside diplomats in war zones. I have faced enemies that should have killed me a dozen times over. I am still here. He paused. I will still be here after we meet and so will you. There was no boasting in his voice, no pride. He spoke like a man describing the weather, simple facts. Did not know if she believed him, but standing there, looking into those calm, dark eyes, she felt something she had not felt since the message arrived. Hoping. Then we leave tonight, she said. The Emperor does not like to wait. Picked up his bag and nodded. I am ready. As they walked toward her diplomatic vessel, wondered what she had brought into her world. This quiet human with his steady eyes and his simple words. Was he a savior or a fool? She would find out soon enough. The journey to Prime would take 5 days through deep space. 5 days trapped in a small diplomatic vessel with a human she did not understand. 5 days to prepare for a meeting that would decide the fate of her world. Spend the first day watching her protector. Park was a strange creature. He woke before she did always. When she emerged from her sleeping quarters, she would find him already awake, sitting in the cargo hold, moving through slow exercises that made his muscles shift under his skin. He moved like water, smooth and continuous, never wasting energy. He ate simple food without complaint. The ration bars that found barely tolerable, consumed with the same calm expression he wore at all times. He drank water slowly in measured sips. He slept in short bursts of 4 hours, scattered throughout the day cycle, and each time he woke, he was instantly alert. On the second day, found him in the ship's small library, reading everything she had on the history, culture, biology, military tactics. He read for hours, making notes on a small device, asking her questions when she passed by. Their armor, he said, it grows from their bodies. Yes, it begins forming when they reach adulthood. By the time they are warriors, it covers most of their vital areas. And it can stop plasma fire. Direct hits, yes. Their armor has defeated every weapon the galaxy has thrown at them. Nodded, his eyes distant. He made another note. What about their joints, he asked, where the armor segments connect? Blinked. No one had ever asked her that question before. I do not know. The armor is thinner there, I suppose. It must be, or they could not move. Said nothing, but she saw something flicker in his eyes. Interest, calculation. On the third day, she finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind. Why did Earth send you? Looked up from his reading. You asked for help. Many species asked Earth for help. Most were refused. Were they? Nodded. The cluster begged Earth for military support against pirates. Earth said no. The Merchant Coalition requested human security forces for their trade routes. Earth said no. Why did you say yes to me? The human was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his device and looked at her directly. The cluster wanted soldiers, an army. The coalition wanted guards for their money. You asked for one person to stand beside you while you tried to save your people. He paused. Humans understand that kind of request. I do not understand. Leaned back in his chair. Ambassador, humans are not strong. We are not fast. We have no armor, no claws, no special abilities. On our world there are creatures that could tear us apart without effort, and yet we survived. Do you know why? Shook her head. Because we protect each other, said simply. One human alone is weak, but one human who has something to protect. That is different. We fight harder for others than we ever fight for ourselves. It is how we are built. It is in our blood. He picked up his device again. You did not ask for an army. You asked for someone to stand beside you. That is something humans understand. Did not know what to say. She returned to her quarters and thought about his words for a long time. On the fourth day, they reached the border of space. The checkpoint station was enormous, a black metal structure bristling with weapons. Dozens of warships patrolled the area, each one larger than its entire vessel. Warning signals flashed across every frequency, demanding identification, threatening destruction. Transmitted her diplomatic codes with trembling hands. For 10 terrible minutes, nothing happened. Then a harsh voice crackled through the speakers. Diplomatic vessel, prepare to be boarded for inspection. The soldiers arrived in a shuttle that docked with a violent clang. When the airlock opened, hearts nearly stopped. There were 4 of them. Each stood over 3 meters tall, their bodies covered in dark red armor that seemed to pulse with inner light. Their faces were a nightmare of mandibles and black eyes. Each carried a blade longer than was tall. The leader stepped forward, his massive form filling the corridor. His mandibles clicked with amusement as he looked down at the tiny and her human companion. A diplomat from, he said, his voice like grinding stone, come to beg for mercy from the emperor. His eyes moved too. And what is this? A pet? The other soldiers clicked with laughter. The leader reached toward, his massive hand moving to snatch the diplomatic credentials from her grip. The gesture was deliberately rough, meant to intimidate, meant to show her how small and powerless she was. Then something happened. Did not move, he did not speak, he did not reach for a weapon or make a threat, he simply shifted. His weight changed, his shoulders settled, his eyes fixed on the leader with absolute stillness. Nothing visible happened, but the air in the corridor changed. Something silent and dangerous filled the space between the human and the soldier. The leader froze, his hand stopped inches from his face, his mandibles went still. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Then, slowly, carefully, the leader took the credentials from his outstretched hand with surprising gentleness. He examined them briefly, handed them back, and stepped away. You may proceed, he said. His voice was different now. Quieter, the emperor waits. The soldiers left without another word. When the airlock closed, released a breath she had not realized she was holding. Her whole body was shaking. What did you do? She whispered. His posture relaxed. The strange tension in the air faded. He looked at her with the same calm expression he always wore. Nothing, he said. I just reminded him that I was here. They continued toward Prime, and for the first time began to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, she had made the right choice. Prime was a world of blood and iron. From orbit, could see the scars of industry covering the planet's surface. Massive forges burned day and night, producing weapons and armor for the endless wars of conquest. The sky was the color of rust, choked with smoke from 1,000 factories. Even the oceans had turned dark, poisoned by centuries of military production. Their ship landed in the Imperial City, a fortress of black metal that stretched from horizon to horizon. Armed soldiers watched their arrival from every tower and walkway. War machines patrolled the streets, their weapons humming with barely contained power. An escort met them at the landing platform. 10 soldiers in ceremonial armor, each one chosen for size and strength. They carried weapons that could level buildings. Their eyes burned with contempt as they looked at the small and her even smaller human companion. The Emperor will see you now, the lead soldier said. Follow, do not speak, do not stray, do not make eye contact with anyone. They walked through endless corridors of black stone. The walls were decorated with trophies from conquered worlds, flags of fallen nations, weapons of defeated armies, and skulls. Thousands upon thousands of skulls, mounted in rows that stretched beyond sight. Recognized some of the species. The Merchant Coalition, the Blue Star Alliance, all had once been proud civilizations. Now they were nothing but bones in a conqueror's hall. She forced herself to keep walking. The throne hall of Emperor the Unbroken was the largest enclosed space had ever seen. It could have held a dozen cities. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above, and the walls were lined with balconies filled with thousands of watching soldiers. At the far end of the hall, a throne of black metal rose from a platform of skulls, and upon that throne sat the most terrifying creature had ever encountered. Emperor was massive, even by standards. He stood nearly 4 meters tall when he rose, and his 4 arms were thick with muscle and armor. His face was a mask of scars and hatred, and his eyes burned with the light of 100 conquered suns. He had ruled for over 200 years, and in that time he had never known defeat. The entire hall fell silent as Zen approached the throne. So, the Emperor's voice boomed across the vast space, "The prey comes to the predator's den." His mandibles clicked with cruel amusement. "And you bring a guardian, one single guardian, from that primitive dirt world." Laughter erupted from the thousands of watching soldiers. The sound was like thunder. Leaned forward on his throne. "Is this meant to be an insult, little diplomat? Do you mock the Empire with this, creature?" Opened her mouth to speak, to begin her prepared diplomatic address. But before she could utter a word, a massive figure stepped forward from the crowd. "My Emperor!" The voice cut through the laughter like a blade. A general approached the throne, his armor decorated with more battle honors than could count. He was almost as large as himself, and his body bore the scars of 100 wars. "I am General," he announced to the hall, "Slayer of the Kings, Destroyer of the Blue Star Fleet. I have killed 217 champions in single combat." He turned his burning eyes toward. "I invoke the right of challenge." The hall erupted in cheers. Raised a hand for silence. His eyes gleamed with dark pleasure. "The right of challenge. By ancient law, any diplomatic envoy's protector may be tested in combat. If the protector falls, the envoy's words carry no weight." He looked at. "Your guardian must face General. If he dies, you will be thrown from this hall as a voiceless beggar." His heart stopped. She looked at, expecting to see fear, panic, perhaps even the first signs of retreat. The human's expression had not changed. "Ambassador," said quietly, "do you accept the challenge?" She wanted to say no. She wanted to grab him and run, to escape this nightmare hall and flee back to, even if it meant dying with her people. But she looked into his calm, dark eyes and saw something there that made her hesitate. Faith, complete and absolute faith. "Yes," she whispered. The crowd roared as a combat circle was cleared in the center of the hall. General strode into the ring, his massive ceremonial blade gleaming in the red light. The weapon had killed kings. It had shattered armies. It had never known defeat. Removed his jacket. He folded it carefully and handed it to. Then he stepped into the circle, empty-handed. The laughter stopped. General stared at the small human standing before him. "Where is your weapon?" "I do not need one," said. Silence fell across the hall. Even the Emperor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You may retrieve a weapon," said. There was something in his voice that might have been respect, or perhaps pity. "I will grant you that honor." Shook his head slowly. "Begin." The general's mandibles clicked once. Then he raised his blade and charged. The ground shook with the force of his movement. 3 meters of armored death rushed across the ring, blade raised high to cleave the human in two. And Park moved. What happened next would be remembered for 1,000 years. General charged with all the speed and power of a warship. His blade cut through the air with enough force to split steel. His armored body was a mountain of death, unstoppable and absolute. He struck nothing but empty air. Had not retreated. He had not dodged backward like any sane creature would. Instead, he had moved forward, into the attack, sliding beneath the blade's arc with a grace that seemed impossible for a being without armor or enhanced reflexes. For one heartbeat, he was inside guard, closer to the general than his own shadow. Then his hands moved. 3 strikes, precise, surgical. His fingers found the gaps in his armor where the segments connected at the leg joint. They pressed into flesh with knowledge that came from 5 days of careful study and a lifetime of understanding how bodies worked. Stumbled. The great general, slayer of kings, destroyer of fleets, felt his right leg fail beneath him. The nerves screamed with agony he had never experienced. His armor, designed to stop plasma fire and absorb impacts, offered no protection against this attack. This was not a blow to be absorbed. This was knowledge weaponized. He swung his blade wildly, trying to catch the human who danced at the edge of his vision, but was already moving, circling, his feet finding perfect positions on the stone floor. 2 more strikes, the left leg joint this time. Fell to his knees. His blade clattered from his grip as his arms spasmed involuntarily. The nerve clusters in his shoulders had been targeted with terrifying precision. The hall was utterly silent. Thousands of warriors watched in frozen disbelief as their greatest general knelt before a creature half his size. Stood before him, not even breathing hard. His face showed no triumph, no anger, no emotion at all. He simply waited. 11 seconds. The entire fight had lasted 11 seconds. Tried to rise. His body refused. The paralysis was complete. He could see, he could hear, he could feel the humiliation burning through his soul, but he could not move a single muscle below his neck. How? The word escaped his mandibles as a broken whisper. Looked at him with something that might have been respect. Your armor stops weapons. It does not stop knowledge. He turned away from the fallen general and walked toward the throne. Emperor had risen from his seat. His 4 hands gripped the armrests of his throne with enough force to dent the metal. His eyes burned with emotions no one had ever seen on his face before. Confusion and something deeper, something that looked almost like fear. "What are you?" the emperor demanded. Stopped at the base of the throne platform. He looked up at the most powerful conqueror in the galaxy with the same calm expression he had worn since the day he arrived on. "I am a human," he said. "I am Ambassador's protector, and I am here to deliver a message." "Speak," growled. His voice carried across the silent hall with perfect clarity. "Humans do not conquer. We have no great fleets. We have no armies waiting to invade your worlds. We are not a threat to your empire." He paused. "But we protect what we are asked to protect." He gestured toward the still frozen general. "Your greatest warrior could not touch me. I did not kill him because death was not necessary, but I could have, easily, and I am not special among my kind." A murmur rippled through the watching soldiers. Continued. "This year alone, Earth has sent protectors to 43 diplomatic missions across the galaxy. Pirates, warlords, terrorists, corporate assassins. All of them have tried to harm the people we were sent to guard. All of them have failed." His dark eyes met the Emperor's. "Every single person under human protection is still alive. Every single one." The murmur grew louder. "Do you understand what that means?" asked softly. "If you invade, you will not just be attacking one small trading world. You will be announcing to every species we protect that humans cannot keep them safe." He took 1 step closer to the throne. "And we will never allow that to be true." The words hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. "You think I fear one human," snarled, but his voice had lost some of its thunder. "No," said. "I think you fear what will happen if you give us a reason to stop protecting and start hunting. I think you fear waking up one night to find a human in your bedroom, standing over you with knowledge of every weakness in your body. I think you fear the possibility that somewhere in your empire right now, there might be humans you do not know about, watching, waiting, ready to act if you make the wrong choice." He stepped back and bowed slightly. But I am not here to threaten you, Emperor. I am here to protect Ambassador while she speaks. My demonstration is complete. Whether you listen to her words is your decision." Turned and walked back to stand beside. The crowd parted before him like water. On the floor of the combat circle, General finally regained control of his body. He did not rise. He simply lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand what had happened to everything he believed about strength and power. Emperor slowly sat back down on his throne. His eyes never left the small human standing quietly beside the ambassador. For the first time in 200 years, the unbroken emperor did not know what to do. Emperor dismissed the court. The great hall emptied in silence. No laughter now, no clicking mandibles, no cruel whispers about the tiny diplomat and her primitive guardian. The soldiers filed out with their heads down, their certainties shattered like glass on stone. General was carried away by his own warriors. He would recover in time. His body would heal, but something in his spirit had been broken, and everyone knew it. For 3 hours, met with his most trusted advisors behind sealed doors, his admirals, his generals, his intelligence masters. The creatures who had helped him conquer 17 star systems gathered around a table of black metal and tried to understand what they had witnessed. "It was a trick," Admiral insisted. "Some kind of technology we do not understand. The human must have been enhanced somehow." "Our scanners detected nothing," the intelligence master replied. "No cybernetics, no chemical enhancement, no hidden weapons. The human was exactly what he appeared to be, flesh and blood and bone." "Then how?" demanded. "How did he defeat General in 11 seconds?" "Knowledge," said quietly. Everyone fell silent. "He knew exactly where to strike. He understood our bodies better than we understand them ourselves." The intelligence master placed a holographic display on the table. "I have gathered every report we have on human protectors, every incident, every engagement." He paused. "The pattern is disturbing." Images flickered across the display. The incident. A single human operative had infiltrated an occupation force of 3,000 soldiers. Over 6 months he had dismantled the entire operation. Assassinations, sabotage, psychological warfare. By the end, the surviving soldiers refused to leave their barracks after dark. The Tribunal Massacre. A human bodyguard had been assigned to protect a child diplomat during peace negotiations. 47 assassins had been sent to kill the child. The human killed all of them in a single night. He did not use weapons. He used doors, stairs, furniture. The environment itself became his arsenal. The colony defense. 3 humans had defended a farming settlement against 200 raiders. They did not fight the raiders directly. Instead, they poisoned the water supply, collapsed the main road, and spread rumors that the colony was protected by a deadly plague. The raiders fled without a single shot being fired. "They do not fight like warriors," the intelligence master said. "They fight like something else, something we have no word for." Predators said, "They fight like predators, patient, intelligent, willing to wait for the perfect moment." He stared at the images flickering before him, and completely without mercy when they decide to strike. Admiral leaned forward. "Then we destroy them. We send the fleet to there and burn it to ash before they can become a threat." "And what happens to the 43 diplomatic missions they are currently protecting?" asked. "What happens when every species in the galaxy learns that we provoked humanity into war? They will unite against us. They will hide human protectors among their populations. We will never sleep peacefully again." The room fell silent. "There is something else," the intelligence master said slowly. "Something the human said that I cannot stop thinking about. He said that every person under human protection is still alive, every single one." He looked around the table. "We have been conquering worlds for 200 years. We have the greatest military force in the galaxy, and we cannot make that claim." Closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his lids, he saw the human standing in the combat circle, small, soft, unarmored, and completely without fear. What kind of species produced creatures like that? The next morning, Emperor summoned Ambassador and her protector to his private chambers. Not the throne hall, not the court of blades, a simple room with a simple table and no audience at all. Entered with her heart's pounding, walked beside her as calm as ever. Sat alone, his massive form somehow smaller without the trappings of power around him. He looked at with eyes that held no cruelty, only exhaustion. "The invasion is cancelled," he said. "We'll remain sovereign, your people will not be harmed." His breath caught in her throat. She had prepared speeches, arguments, desperate pleas. She had not prepared for this. "Furthermore," continued, "the Empire wishes to request a formal treaty with Earth." "On what terms, Emperor?" His eyes moved too. For a long moment the two of them simply looked at each other, conqueror and protector, monster and guardian. "I have spent 200 years building an empire through fear," said slowly. "I have made every species in the galaxy hate and fear the name. And in one demonstration, your protector showed me that fear is not the only kind of strength." He paused. "I wish to understand what makes humans willing to die for strangers. I wish to know why you protect those who cannot protect themselves." Was quiet for a long moment, then he spoke. "You would not understand if I told you." "Try." The human looked at the Emperor of a creature who had killed kings with his bare hands, who had burned worlds and shattered civilizations. "Because someone has to," said simply, "and we decided it would be us." Stared at him. Then slowly something changed in the Emperor's face, not understanding, perhaps, but the beginning of something. Respect. 3 months later, Ambassador returned to as the greatest hero in her world's history. She had saved her people without firing a single shot. She had faced the most terrifying empire in the galaxy and walked away with a peace treaty in her hands. She wrote a memoir that became required reading at every diplomatic academy in the galaxy. The title was simple, The Human Way. Park returned to Earth. He took 1 month of leave, visiting his family in a small town by the sea. He ate his mother's cooking. He played with his nieces and nephews. He slept in his childhood bedroom and dreamed of nothing at all. Then he accepted his next assignment. A young diplomat from a species he had never heard of. A dangerous world filled with creatures that wanted her dead. A mission that would probably try to kill him at least twice. When the briefing officer asked him why he kept accepting these assignments, gave the same answer he always gave. Someone asked for help. He packed his single bag, boarded a ship, and flew toward the stars. Behind him, on 100 worlds across the galaxy, species who had once lived in fear began to hope. Because they knew now that somewhere out there, humans were watching. Humans were protecting. And humans never stopped.